Hello, this is GAMEZOMATIK and welcome back to the channel. And I thought what I'd do today is do a little bit of a rundown of my PSP collection. Now, I'm a big fan of the PSP. I've actually got two of them. I've got the original kind of black fat one that came out, and I've also got the white slim and what are they called? Slim and light, or whatever they were called when they came out, which is considerably actually thinner, as you can see, than that one. But I'm a big fan of the PSP and I love collecting for the PSP at the moment. It's a fantastic handheld to collect for, simply because the games are so cheap. And I've probably only really seriously been collecting for it. I've always had one or two games that we have. We've always had PSPs. I used to buy my kids PSPs years ago when it first came out, and I've always had the odd PSP game knocking around. But in the last sort of year or so, I've really kind of kept an eye out for PSP games, and they're really cheap to buy. I mean, most games you can pick up for, you know, £1 in a charity shop, or maybe £2 or whatever, and they're really easy to find. It seems that everyone in the last, when the PS3 came out and the PS4 came out, everyone got rid of their PSP games, and they're really easy to find. So I've amassed quite a collection of PSP games over the last year or so, so I thought it might be interesting to come on and go through them. Now, this video is probably going to be split into a couple of different parts because I've got quite a lot of games to get through. So yeah, without any further ado, let's just crack on with it. So the first game I've got here is Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, which is kind of a strategy game. It's along the line of Final Fantasy Tactics, and again, I saw this in a shop. It was really cheap, so I picked it up. And this is a really nice addition because it comes with the game, which has got really nice artwork on it, but it also came with this little kind of hardback book. This is a really old kind of sort of isometrical sort of tactical game. It also came with a little sort of soundtrack CD with like 6 songs on it, and it's tiny. I don't know if you can see that. It's absolutely tiny. And it's like a CD, and you can actually put it in a CD player and listen to the music. Up next we've got Ratchet Clank Size Matters. This is on the Platinum label, but it doesn't really bother me. I prefer to get them on Black Label PSP games if I can. But yeah, this is I love Ratchet Clank, so this is Size Matters. Also got Secret Agent Clank, which is a fantastic game. This is a really good kind of platformer, and it focuses on Clank on his own, and yeah, it's a really good sort of platformer. Loads and loads of interesting levels on it. It's pretty tough in places as well. I've got Syphon Filter Dark Mirror. I used to be a massive fan of the old Syphon Filter games back in the day, and this one's no exception. It's a really solid game, and it works really well using the PSP controls. Got Medieval Resurrection, which is kind of the PSP version of Medieval. It's not quite as good as the original games, but it's still a lot of fun to play, and the graphics are really nice on it. So yeah, it's again another good PSP game. Really easy to find that one as well. I've seen that quite a few times. A couple of kind of PSP Essential games. These are just ones I picked up for like £1 in charity shops or things like that. So we've got Cloudy with a Chance to Meet Balls, based on the movie of the same name, which is a kind of good kids action platformer. GForce, which is a really great game. It's kind of, I've mentioned this game before, it's kind of Syphon Filter or Splinter Cell, but with animals, kind of a kids version of it. I was so impressed with this PSP version of the game actually that I went out and bought the full game on PS3 because I thought it was that good. I had so much fun with it. Again, it's pretty tough in places. I've got Monster Hunter Unite. Is it Unite? Freedom Unite. I haven't really played too much of this game. I've got 2 of these Monster Hunter games and I keep meaning to get into them. I've never played any of the Monster Hunter games. I did dabble slightly in the other PSP. I've got another PSP game, Monster Hunter one. I'm not too sure which it is. I'll know when I get to it. But yeah, and it was okay, but I haven't delved too deeply into them yet, so I'd like to give this another go. And we've got EA Replay, which is great because this is kind of a selection of all old sort of EA games from back in the day. So we have got on here, we've got Syndicate, we've got Desert Strike, Mutant League Football, Road Rash 1, 2 and 3. You know, there's loads of really good titles on. Wing Commander. I bought it essentially mainly for Desert Strike, and I think there's another Strike game on it. Oh yeah, Jungle Strike, because I didn't have them games and I was after them. I'm a big fan of the Strike series. So yeah, that was I got that from Cash Converter for a couple of quid. It was well worth it. We've got some puzzle games now. So we've got Echochrome, which is a really weird game. You've kind of got to manipulate the environment. It's kind of, you get these sorts of weird puzzles, and you kind of got to manipulate the environment to get through them. Also Echoshift, which is basically the same, made by the same people. This is hard to explain, this game. It's sort of like a time manipulation game. It's based on the same sort of universe as Echochrome, but yeah, it's kind of a puzzler. It's a puzzler, but it's a good game. It's good fun. Got Scarface, Money, Power, Respect. This is just sort of the PSP version of the PS2 game that came out, but it's pretty decent, and it's a good game to take with you on the move. You know, if you're going away on holiday and you want a game that's going to sort of last you the whole week, you know, you need something like GTA or Scarface. Talking about GTA, I've got Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City Stories. These aren't in any order, these games. These are just how I've taken them off the shelf. My cataloguing skills leave a lot to be desired. And of course, you can't have the PSP collections without having these two games, and that is God of War, Ghosts of Sparta. Love the God of War games. And God of War, Chains of Olympus. Both fantastic, really good games that were made specifically for the PSP. I know they've now been converted and you can play them on the PS3, but these were both original PSP games, and they both work really well. And they, yeah, I love God of War anyway, so these are great games. We have got some driving games. We've got Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. I think I picked this up for 50p in a charity shop. To be quite honest, I haven't played it yet. So yeah, I've got loads of driving games. So if you love driving games, then there's absolutely tons of them for the PSP. Dungeon Siege, Throne of Agony. Again, never played any of the Dungeon Siege games, but again, this was a cheap pickup. I can't remember where I got it from, but it wasn't much. None of these games cost me. I've never paid more than, I don't think I've ever paid more than like £3.50 for a PSP game. So I love these games. Ace Combat X. This is a really good sort of flight sim game based on the Ace Combat universe, which I'm quite a big fan. I did pick up another Ace Combat game recently. I'm just looking it up there. Assault Horizon. Really fun. If you like sort of flight sims and combat flight sim games, these are fantastic games, really cinematic. I've got XMen Legends 2, which I've also got on the, I'm pretty sure this came out on the PS2 as well, and I've got it on the PS2. So yeah, if you like X-Men, it's really good. It's kind of a little bit like the Justice League game that came out on the PS2, or you know, it's kind of a top-down brawler, if you like. Bit like sort of RPG brawler, slightly like Baldur's Gate, but in a superhero setting. We've got Dungeons and Dragons. Is it Dungeons and Dragons? Check. Dungeons and Dragons Tactics. Silverfall, which is quite a fun RPG. Some really solid RPGs on the PSP. There's a lot of driving games and a lot of, you know, a lot of dodgy kind of scaled down versions of other games, but a lot of good sort of RPGs as well on the PSP. We've got Pursuit Force. Actually, this is Pursuit Force Extreme Justice. This is the sequel to Pursuit Force, which will probably come on later in the list. So yeah, this is kind of a high action driving game, but with shooter mechanics as well. A little bit reminds me a little bit of Chase HQ, like an updated version of that. We're kind of shooting out the car, but then you can also jump from car to car. It's a lot of fun, this game. It's a bit like watching a sort of Fast and Furious film, but you're actually playing it. A big fan of the Resistance series. This is Resistance Retribution. I do like this game, but I do find the controls in it slightly fiddly at times. But I love the Resistance universe. I've got Ridge Racer 2. It's Ridge Racer, there's not much more you can say. I've also got Ridge Racer 1 somewhere. So SWAT Target Liberty. This is a really good game. This is kind of a, again, it's kind of a top-down from an isometric view, but you control a SWAT team going into various different sorts of environments and missions, and having to release hostages and take down terrorists and things like that. But it's a really fun game, and it's also a little bit of a planning element to it as well. I've got Space Invaders Evolution, which is Space Invaders. So Lego Star Wars 3. I got this because it's the only Lego Star Wars game I haven't played, or that I don't own on another console. Now, apparently this is very much a scaled down version of that game, and it's not really like the proper Lego Star Wars 3 game in a lot of respects, because I do remember seeing that game being played a couple of years ago, and I'm quite, you know, there's a lot of enemies on screen, and there's big sorts of scenes like the Clone Wars on it and stuff like this. And I think this is very much down a scaled down version of it. But again, you know, you can't beat the Lego games. And I always like to take my PSP away with me when I go on holiday, more than the Vita actually, because I just think there's more stuff on that. I've just got more stuff for the PSP than I have the Vita, and this is be a good one to take away and play when I go away. Killzone Liberation, a fantastic PSP title. It's kind of Killzone, but from top down, again isometric, but it works really well. Loads of guns in it, loads of shooting in it, and loads of hellgast in it. Love this game. Love the original game that came on a PS3 with the eye camera, with the what was it called? The camera for the PlayStation 3, iToy camera, whatever it was. This is the PSP sort of remake of that game, Eye of Judgment. It's kind of a card-based game. You can see the back of it. It's kind of a card-based game where you have a board and you get cards and you've got to lay them down and beat it. But it's really addictive and really fun. This is really good. I do think that the original version on the PlayStation 3 is better. It's a tough game, but I love these games. Some film games now, a couple of film games. We've got SpiderMan II, which is a bit of an odd game actually, this game, because this game only works on one of my PSPs, because if you've got a memory stick over a certain size, one of my PSP's got a pretty small memory stick, like an original one that came with it, so it's only something like 64 kilobytes or so. I can't remember what it is, or it's tiny and it works fine. But my other PSP's got quite a large memory stick in it, something like 32 gig, to hold all the saves, and this won't work on it. It says it's too large. So yeah, if you're picking up that game, try and consider that. But brilliant game, and a really good port of the PlayStation 2 version. Star Trek Tactical Assault. I'm not the biggest Trekkie in the world, but I do like a little bit of Star Trek, and I just got this because it was cheap, and I had pretty much every other Star Trek game, so I wanted to pick this one up. I've got Gran Turismo. Not the greatest version of the game, I've got to be honest. There's quite a lot of features missing out of this game. that were in the original game, and I was expecting this to be a lot better than it was. Graphically it's nice and everything, but I'd actually prefer they'd have just ported over the original game onto PSP. That would have been better. We've got Star Wars Lethal Alliance, one of the few Star Wars games where you play a totally different character, not one from the films, which is refreshing. This is kind of a third person action game. Yeah, it's quite good fun. The controls are a bit crap on it though. Gangs of London. This is a kind of wannabe it's a little bit like The Getaway. If anyone ever played The Getaway on the PS2, or you know, it's kind of a openish world kind of, yeah, London Ganglands sort of game. Got Tony Hawk's Underground 2 remix. It is what it says on the tin. It's a Tony Hawk game, so if you want to do a bit of skateboarding on the go, although I do think Ollie better. Untold Legends. This is a great game. I took this on a holiday a couple of years ago when we went to a caravan, and I took this game with me to play, and just had like a bundle loads of fun with it. I've also got the sequel to this. Is this the sequel or is this the original? I can't remember whether this is the sequel or the original, but I've got both of these games. One of the best racing games on the PSP, MotorStorm Arctic Edge. This game looks phenomenal graphically. It looks absolutely brilliant, even on the PSP. I said there's loads of racing games out for the PSP. Toka Race Driver 2. Def Jam Fight for New York, The Takeover. This is just a brawler really, like a fighting game, but it's a lot of fun. It's very much pick up and play, and just have a fight with each kind of just pick someone to have a fight with, and it's a bit of sort of Street Fighter-ish, I suppose. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2. This is kind of a slimmed down version of the PS3 game that came out. If you like your Tom Clancy's sort of soldier sims, and I do, then this is a good game. SpongeBob SquarePants, The Yellow Avenger. Yeah, I picked this up not long ago. It's one of my pickup videos. It was just a cheap kind of SpongeBob game, but I do like my SpongeBob, and my son likes SpongeBob, and this is a lot of fun, and some of the SpongeBob games are actually quite a lot of fun. So Mac Modified Air Combat Heroes. I thought this was like more a flight sim, like a combat flight sim, and it is, but it's quite on rails at times. It's more like a racing game really than it is a flight sim, but in really high powered aeroplanes. What I do like about this game though is it's kind of got a very metallic, the artwork on it is like a metallic glossy case. It's just a nice sort of cover on it. Another SpongeBob game. This game's brilliant. I played this on the Wii and loved it, and that's why I picked it up on the PSP when I saw it, so I could sort of take it around, because brilliant. It's one of the best SpongeBob games you can play, truth or square. It's just a really fun platformer where SpongeBob can turn into different things and use them in the environment. Like he turns into like a spatula and bashes people with it, or a hammer and things like that. It's just a lot of fun to play. We've got The Sims 2 Pets. I'm not the biggest fan of The Sims, I've got to be honest, but again, this was a charity shop find. It was probably about 50p or something. Aliens vs Predator Requiem. Yeah, it's not a bad sort of Predator game. It's pretty basic. It's kind of like you're around just killing people as the Predator. It's much better than the film of the same name. So the game's a lot better than the film, I will say that. But yeah, if you like your Predator, then this is a decent game. We've got the original Pursuit Force that I mentioned before. So this is the original game. And yeah, like I said, you sort of jump from cars to car, shooting bad guys and chasing people down. Got Thrillville Off the Rails. This is kind of a theme park simulator. So you can sort of build up your own theme park. There's loads of mini games in these. It's not on the scale of Roller Coaster Tycoon or anything like that, but it's certainly a lot of fun to play, and it's very colourful. More of a kids game, I'd say. Then we've got Offroad, which is kind of a Land Rover Ford game. And this is one of these budget games actually that looks terrible, but when I actually played this, again this is another game I took on holiday about a year ago or whatever, and I took a load of PSP games with me when I went away to a caravan a couple of last year. This is one of the games I took, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was a decent driving game, sort of a lot of off-roading in it, and graphically it's quite nice. There's not that many cars to choose from, but yeah, it just was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. And finally we've got Con Carnage, which is kind of a handheld version of Total Overdose, which came out on the original Xbox. And it's kind of the PS2, and this is kind of a spin-off game of that. Although it doesn't actually say anything about Total Overdose on it, it's got the same characters in it and the same style and everything. And this is kind of a bit of a Max Payne kind of shooting game, but it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely worth, again, another game I played quite a bit of, and it's definitely worth picking up. So that's it for part 1 of my PSP collection. Thanks for watching. Please click like, leave your comments and subscribe. I always try and get back to people, and I shall be back soon with part 2.